The deadline for artificial intelligence company Anthropic to meet the Pentagon's demands to allow unrestricted AI access have come and gone. No deal. The company had been awarded a $200 million contract last year, but in recent weeks had refused to help conduct mass surveillance or carry out military operations without at least some protections or protocols. The Pentagon has vowed to designate the startup as something known as a supply chain risk. Frank Kendall joins me now. He was Secretary of the Air Force during the Biden administration. Frank, I'm glad to have you with us. I want to read to you something I know you've seen, but my audience might not have. Something the president posted just a short time ago on Truth Social. Control room, please bring that up so I can read it off the monitor, please. The left-wing nut jobs at Anthropic have made a disastrous mistake trying to strong-arm the Department of War and force them to obey their terms of service instead of our Constitution. Their selfishness is putting American lives at risk. That Truth Social post, as you know, Frank, goes on to say the president wants to terminate all government contracts with Anthropic, essentially ending its relationship with the federal government. I'd like your response.
Well, first of all, it's really important to understand that this is at its heart a contract dispute between a contractor and the government. You know, the government wants to have language or will accept language that says that the software can't be used for any unlawful use, which should be enough. Anthropic wants more than that. And this is a change, I think, to their current situation. They want prohibitions against wide area surveillance against Americans and use of their software for autonomous lethal engagements without any humans involved. The government is already bound not to do those things. It has policies in terms of autonomous weapons are used, and there are laws against unauthorized surveillance of Americans. So I'm sympathetic to the government's point of view on this, but the reaction, as you saw from President Trump, is really over the top and outrageous. It goes way beyond the confines of the specific dispute and could be an existential threat to Anthropic's existence as a company. So what was a negotiation that was going on for some time, and that's the way this should have been resolved, is now being fought out in public by outrageous statements being made by the president to try to characterize Anthropic in a certain way.
You write in a New York Times op-ed about artificial intelligence and its future potential influence on warfighting. Let me quote from that. AI is poised to be the most transformative technology of our generation, perhaps of any generation. And we need to ensure the government and the private enterprise that develop these technologies have a constructive and mutually beneficial relationship consistent with American values. I think most people reading that would agree. It sounds like that's gone off the rails this afternoon.
It has, and the dangers of this technology are pretty significant. There are going to be major impacts on the economy and on the workplace. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs ultimately, and the technology is accelerating. It's moving forward very, very rapidly. Its use in wartime is a great concern. Its use by the military is a great concern. So we need to work together to put reasonable bounds, again, that are consistent with our values on how this is done. But the approach Anthropic is taking is not going to get us there. That's not really the right way to address this. And the approach the government is taking, which is, again, over the top and you taking a sledgehammer to what should be a relatively small problem that could be worked out, not the right way to approach it either.
This is not, to use software terminology, a plug-and-play situation. Anthropic and Maven is their, I don't know the proper phraseology you do, Frank, but Maven is what they have that interfaces with the Pentagon, as I understand it now. And it's deeply interfaced, embedded there. We just can't push one thing, pull one thing out and put another thing in, is what I'm trying to get at awkwardly.
Yeah, the president talked about a 6-month transition period. There are other companies that are trying to develop and are close, I think, to having similar capabilities, maybe not quite as good as Anthropic's Claude, the name of their system. So the government doesn't want to lose all this capability until it can transition to something else. And I don't know that Anthropic's going to fight the government on that and stop. They're under contract now. And the government could take, under the Defense Production Act, could attempt to, force Anthropic to continue to do business with it until it had an alternative. And that was one of the things the government was threatening to do here.
Frank, this seems to me to be an enormously important threshold moment for not only the Pentagon, but the development of artificial intelligence and our approach to any future military risk or deployed asset to counter a risk.
I agree. Look, what I argue in my piece that I wrote is that we need to start looking at regulation of artificial intelligence products like we do other products. That's going to be hard to do. There have been some proposals put on the table for how to do that. Consequences that come from those products, you got to assert who's liable for those and how they came about, and try to put some basic constraints in place. This administration has refused to do that basically, and it's even gone after the states who tried to do that with the state governments. I think that the Congress needs to step up here. It needs to come up and say, okay, we need to figure out how we're going to regulate this, not just for military uses, but for other uses as well. This is technology which is enormously powerful. It can be powerful in many ways, cybersecurity, military uses, invasions of privacy, on and on. And we need to start thinking about that very deeply and figuring out how we're going to regulate it.
Congress, pay attention. This is a big deal. Frank Kendall, former Air Force Secretary, I appreciate your time very much, sir. Thank you.